Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome. Seeing you come in, all you humans, as well as any other than human companions who might be joining you today. Mine are all afraid of the snow and sleeping and trying to stay warm, I think. So there are not many creatures fluttering about here today. I think we're all in habitation mode. So just take a notice in your habitat. If there's any creatures nearby you who are joining us today, in your proximity, or perhaps a cat walking across your keyboard. Welcome to the Compassion Consortium. I'm Reverend Sarah Bowen, and I'm joined today by co-founders Reverend William Melton and Victoria Moran. Animal Chaplain Jen Baker's here with us, and our irreplaceable techie Phil is there on the bridge. Our special guest today is Rayane Laddi, a development consultant dedicated to advancing impactful causes, and you'll hear a lot about that when Rayane has a chat with Victoria. And we also have Reverend Dina, Miani Lauman here today, who's going to be offering us an interspecies practice. Rumor is something to do with some fish beings today. And Dina will also be helping facilitate one of our fellowship groups after the service. In order to ensure we don't have disruption during the service, we've turned off most of the Zoom sharing functions, so you won't see them there. But we do look forward to seeing you and hearing your voices later after the service during our small group fellowship time, and we do hope you'll stick around for that. We meet for Sunday service on the third Sunday of every month, as many of you know, because you're here every month. We're so delighted to see you again. But if you're new to us, welcome. We're an interfaith and interspiritual and interspecies community. And if those concepts sound new to you and you want to know a little bit more about them, Jen will put a link into the chat that tells you a little bit about our approach and our philosophy. And if you're watching from the YouTube replay, hello, future people, you can go to compassionconsortium.org/about to learn more about us. At the beginning of each service, I offer some sort of acknowledgement of the beings of the habitat I'm in. Usually some sort of animals. Last month it was all sorts of snow animals. Sometimes I've brought you creatures from England or New Mexico or wherever I have to be traveling. But today I'd like to take the time to remind us that humans are also creaturely beings. And as this month we're celebrating our community, the Compassionist community, I'd like to lift up the reflections of a couple of lovely humans related to 3 of this month's cultural observances. So first off, it's Black History Month, and that's an opportunity for us to look more closely at the intersections of Black history and animals, which is a very complicated topic. So I'd like to lift up the work of one of our animal chaplain community, Michelle Whitney, who wrote a really timely blog entitled Race, Animals, and the Refusal to Let Dehumanization Have the Last Word. I was really struck by how well she covered this topic for us, and so I'm going to give the link to you all in the chat in a few moments, and I urge you to learn from it as well. It's from her public blog, so you can feel free to share it too. Consider how we might each commit to understanding the intersections between Black history and animals much better. And secondly, Tuesday, 2 days from now, if you're here with us live today, marks the arrival of the Lunar New Year this year, which ushers in the year of the fire horse. We are coming out of the year of the wood snake into the year of the fire horse. Judy Ramsey, who's a shamanic practitioner and is part of our community, has a Chinese heritage. And so Judy this week offered us some words of guidance for how to cope with a fire horse year. I mean, even just hearing fire horse together gives us a little bit of a clue. But Judy said, in a year with the energy of the fire horse, align the choices you make with your values, your ethics, and your priorities, which sounds like what we do around here every day, right? So I guess we're doubling down. And remember that self-care is paramount to avoid burnout during fiery years. I am taking that to heart, and I hope you all will too. Our own Firehorse Chaplain cohort has spent a lot of time this week thinking about the ethical equine issues. Have any come up in your head? Carriage horses, Wild horses threatened by government authority and the ranching industry. How about mares who are kept captive on pregnant mare urine farms to produce hormone replacement drugs for humans? I refuse to take those ones, and some of the rest of you might as well. All of that's quite heartbreaking when we think about horses. So, we've also been leaning into what it might mean for our advocacy during a fire horse year. How do we best support people who are running wild horse sanctuaries, people involved in horse rescue, or advocating for laws that protect horses? I hope you'll join us in some of that thinking, the year of the fire horse. And third, to wrap up here, February also brings Valentine's Day. Did anyone celebrate that around here? I know we did. My husband and I actually made it out of the house through the snow out for dinner. It's a month where pondering love is common. Where do we see love in our lives? Do we need to refresh love in our relationships that we've had for quite a while? It's a month where I find myself leaning into contemplating what it means to be a self professed animal lover as well. What does loving other species mean practically? Ethically? What kind of commitment does this kind of love require of me? In the Christian tradition, the Apostle Paul's suggestion in 1 Corinthians that love never fails has not been my experience. It isn't always our experience, whether in advocacy or our personal lives. Sometimes love isn't enough, right? Or is it? So many poems and sacred text and song lyrics suggest that love is really, really complex. Consider the 1993 dance hit from Hadaway. Does anyone remember this one? What is love, baby, don't hurt me? It was a staple of an infamous Saturday Night Live skit with Jim Carrey and Will Ferrell. Anyone want to do this? Yeah, that was what they did to that song. And beyond the silliness of that skit, the song What is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me holds profound lyrics. An admission that love, whatever it is brings with it necessarily the possibility of pain too. That love isn't always easy. It often requires us to adapt or to flex. And the longer love goes on, the more challenges it gives us to face, as well as new ways to fall in love again and again with the people around us or the creatures around us. I'm working real hard on falling back in love with one of my cats who has been driving me little nutters with his needs since he can't go outside, right? So, how do we adjust to those that we love, whether they are animals or the human animals we live with too? Our own Victoria Moran wrote a beautiful article this week for Soulful Living titled Love, Soul, and Who Did I Fall For Anyway? In it, Victoria shares about the journey that she and William are currently traveling. It's so beautifully written. And as I read it, I found myself truly grateful for the way which those two love each other. Because without their relationship, we wouldn't have this community, which itself is saturated with so much love and so much compassion. I'll pop that link in the chat for you all too to ponder after the service as well. So that's enough for me. You'll hear our team reflect more on love today. We'll explore animal love in the animal kingdoms and love in this community. I hope that we provide you with opportunities to think about the many different kinds of love that might be present in your own life too. Over to you, Jen and William.
All right. At the beginning of each Sunday service, we remind ourselves of the tenets of agreement which this community strives to uphold. Each month, we focus on one tenet. This month, it is Tenet 3, and it will be read by Compassion Consortium founder William Melton. As William reads the words aloud, we encourage everyone to take time to contemplate how the tenets can impact and influence your daily life. If you are unfamiliar with all 10 of our tenets, please read the full list at the link just placed in the chat.
Number 3, we affirm that compassion, reverence for life, and nonviolence are fundamental to religious faith and moral philosophy and are to be extended to all our sentient beings.
Thank you, William. Let's just take a moment, maybe take a breath to mindfully meditate on this idea. And now over to you, Dina.
I think I'm unmuted now, right? So I've got the sun coming through my window. This is the time of day that the sun comes in. So I'm going to go with this as the sun is kissing all of us and our time, our species. And the title of this is What is Love? And Swimming Beside One Another. This is a contemplative, interspecies, interfaith, interspiritual practice that uses the image of the beautiful mahi-mahi who swim in pairs. And we explore love not as a guarantee of no harm, but as a commitment, an accompaniment together, reducing harm, repairing rupture, and staying present in community. And so I just want to just begin with a smile. Like I'm feeling sometimes they follow our smile, so just a slight smile. And really, some of us, if you've heard that, when I hear that song, cannot think of anything. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Without hearing the 80s dance beat and seeing the scene with Will Ferrell and Chris Kattan and their drinks in their hands and knocking everybody around on the dance floor, which is kind of metaphorical for love in a way, because they're hurting people, spilling drinks and all that. So beneath the anthem, there was a really profound message of what is love? What is love? What a straightforward question, but a really deep question, complex question. And so how do we live love? Love is something that we do and we are. How do we live it? How do we live it when we think about it as it's that harm is part of our story still? I never really thought about that so much till like the Reverend Stern brought it up. Like, we don't want to think of it that way because we always hear stories of happily ever after and all that. So in the open ocean, I want you to just pretend like you're in the open ocean swimming with the mahi-mahi and that you're out there. And they're out there, they're out in the ocean swimming side by side. They're not fused, they're not tethered, but they're just next to each other in the water. And be there too. And that's a lot about what love is. We're not tethering ourselves. We're not fusing ourselves. We're moving side by side. We're choosing somebody. We're being side by side. And so today we are exploring, it's just like acknowledging that love is not a guarantee of no harm, as hard as that is to admit. But it's accompanied companionship, committed. So I invite you, if you're comfortable, to place one hand on your heart and one on your lap, and just take a nice slow breath. Just bring yourself to the present moment. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And bring to mind a being that you love, a being who you love, human or not human. And just notice, how does the love feel in your body? And then just gently, no judgment, no guilt or shame. Have you ever loved yourself and caused harm? And have you ever been loved and still been hurt? And again, no shame, just noticing. And just take another breath when you're ready and open your eyes. Sometimes we say, if we love animals, we love someone else, that we won't hurt them. And I'm sure that is what we intend. That's what we want to do. But love itself is not always precise. Life is messy. Love can be very sentimental. We're kind of taught in our culture for that, of love being sentimental. And by the time the hour's up of a show, everybody's living happily ever after. Love can be confused. Love can coexist with harm in some way. So maybe the question isn't so much, do you love, but how do we love? How do we do it? And so let's take another breath. It's a breathing exercise, just taking it in and ask ourselves, how does love grow wiser? How does love reduce harm? How does it repair rupture? And let that breathe. And just go back. Let's go back to the mahi-mahi and the beautiful ocean. If you see pictures of them, they're so gorgeous, iridescent and sparkly and blue and green and gold. And the ocean has no fences. They swim freely, no cages. And there's no guarantee in the ocean of calm or currents shift, storms come, light changes. To swim beside, but they're swimming by each other in open water, and that's an act of courage. And in some ways, we're in an ocean of life, swimming next to each other with no guarantees, current shifting. And to do that is an act of courage. I think that to love is an act of courage. They adjust to one another. They respond. They stay near. They stay near each other through uncertainty. They stay near each other through whatever may be going on and coming up and the waves. And this is love clarified. Maybe it's like looking at a clarification. Love as not as possession, not as domination, not purity, not perfection, but a devotion that asks, acknowledges harm and asks, how do I reduce harm? How do I repair rupture? How do I become trustworthy? And so, there's times when we feel this rupture and we feel hurt or we feel bad, even worse, that we've hurt someone else. Or this happens within, with our animals and our human relationships, and how to repair that. And when we feel unloved, when we feel we've failed in love, or we're feeling the ache of not being chosen, we can return to community, refilling the well. This is what we're doing today, as we go out into the world and things happen, and we have to come back together with people who understand, who share, and we refill our well. We learn again. That's what Compassion Consortium does and offers through music and reflections and activities, spiritual practice, and this circle, what we're in, this love-filled space. I pray that can be something when you leave today that you take with you, healing and filling up from the well that comes of here. Because it's here. We're not here because we're perfect. We're here because we're practicing. So, what is love? Not domination, not possession, not denying harm. Because in some ways, when we deny harm, that's worse than having the harm there. What is love? It's not a beat in the dance, even though it's a fun dance to dance to. Love is really just swimming beside each other like the mahi-mahi do. Whether it be our partners or our friends, family, swimming by each other. We have a lot to learn from the mahi-mahi. I looked into them this week. So I was very impressed. They have a lot of wisdom. They're beautiful. So may we look to reduce harm, acknowledging it, repair ruptures, stay present. And may we love like paired swimmers. We're all paired swimmers together. Today we're in a school in the ocean, in Compassion Consortium for this time together, and we're swimming together. We're attuned, we're courageous, we're free. There's no fences holding us in. And so I just like to conclude with just another collective breath. Let's breathe together with this thought. We ask that the spirit of creation and love, who moves through oceans and hearts alike, teach us to love with clarity. Where we have caused harm, help us repair. Where we feel unloved or harmed, refill our wells. When we're not certain, teach us to swim beside one another with courage and humility. May our love grow wiser. May our presence grow gentler. And may we move together like the mahi-mahi in open water. And together, let's inhale and say, love clarifies. You can say it aloud or quietly. Inhale, love clarifies. Love clarifies. Exhale, love accompanies. And again, love clarifies and love accompanies. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. That was perfect today. That was just lovely. Thank you. So at the Compassion Consortium, we believe that everyone deserves a place of belonging, support, and spiritual nourishment. Everything we offer is made possible by the generosity of our community, whether through one-time donations or ongoing support from our monthly Compassionist community members. Every gift matters. Because our work is offered freely, it isn't always visible that real people are sustaining it behind the scenes. By becoming a Compassionist, you ensure that our programs remain accessible and welcoming to all who feel called to be here. Your monthly support sustains us and nurtures our community rooted in compassion for animals and the humans who advocate for them. You can also make a one-time donation by debit card, credit card, Zelle, or PayPal by either clicking the donation link in the chat box or using your phone to scan the QR code on screen. Thank you for walking this path of compassion with us. If you have any questions or need support, please email me at jennifer@compassionconsortium.com. Now over to you, Victoria.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's a pleasure, as ever, to be doing the special spiritual guest interview for the Compassion Consortium. So we talk about being interfaith, interspiritual, and interspecies, and this is the interfaith part. And I know that's a part that could be a little bit controversial because everything's controversial now, but I remember even growing up, my grandmother saying, don't talk about politics or religion. So maybe things haven't changed all that much. And yet, I am utterly fascinated by religions, by spiritual teachings, and with all of the problems that are inherent in anything organized. What I believe these traditions have done for our world is immeasurable, and the possibility for the positive that they can do in the future is also huge. I was dealing this weekend with something very, very difficult. And as part of trying to deal with it, I found myself in an Uber, and the driver was wearing this beautiful light blue turban. So I knew that he was a Sikh and he was a man of faith. And then this morning, as I was just finishing up on the saga of the weekend, I had reason to speak with another gentleman who told me that his name was Abraham, and he didn't call me back yesterday because it was the Sabbath, which told me that he was a religious Jew. And I thought, God just shows up to tell me I am everywhere. And that helps me. So we're going to be speaking with someone absolutely delightful today who is part of a religious tradition that does not use the word God and yet is deeply spiritual, deeply beautiful, and has done a great deal for animals in the past and has so much promise to do more in the future. So our guest is Rayane Laddi. He is the host of a fabulous podcast called The Vegan Report, and that's how we met originally. He was kind enough to have me as a guest. He is also involved with Dharma Voices for Animals. We've had some representatives from them as our guests in the past. And these are Buddhists around the world seeking to really bring into action all the Buddhist beautiful teachings of compassion towards all beings. Welcome, Rayane.
Thank you so much, Victoria, and thank you everyone for the warm welcome.
Well, it's wonderful to have you. And I must say that when I got the you have to have this person on the Compassion Consortium was when we were speaking during the podcast or maybe afterwards. You talked about a concern that you have that despite the fact that your generation has the energy and the technology skills and the power behind animal rights and veganism now in a way that we've never seen before, there's still something that we might describe as a lack of soulfulness. Why don't we start with that? What are you seeing and what's the problem?
Well, talking about being a bit controversial here, I think, if we look at studies on the vegan community and the vegan, animal advocacy movement, most people are not religious at all, consider themselves, atheists or, completely secular without, a spiritual practice. And when I look at that, I think of it as a fundraiser. So that's what I do for a living. I invite people to be generous, to make donations for different charities and good causes. And what I often tell those charities and good causes is you are offering the world space, an occasion, an opportunity to do good, but to also to give meaning to their life. That's what giving brings to people. It brings them joy. It brings them meaning on a spiritual level. And there's a reason why most donors out there are religious people. Well, let's use the same logic with veganism. When we invite people to give up, animal products and to adopt veganism, what do they gain from that on a spiritual, at the spiritual level? What kind of meaning do they gain in their life? What kind of joy do they experience? And I've always looked at veganism that way, as an opportunity to go through an incredible experience of connecting with the rest of the animal kingdom and with Earth, and some of the beautiful sentiments that you have expressed earlier in prayers and the sermons in the introduction. Well, I feel like that's the challenge we're not addressing right now, because there's this bias in the community of not being religious, and so not understanding what we're asking people to do, to give up and to gain. So there is that. And there is also the fact that we're not reaching out to religious communities. Initiatives to reach out to religious communities are, very small. There aren't that many. I could count all of them, in my 10 fingers. And, it is underfunded. Again, there's that bias playing there from the funders' part. They don't see the value in that. So there is a whole segment of the population for whom, veganism do not make much sense, because we're not talking their language. We're not, building spiritual bridges with them and their communities. And we're not, wrapping veganism in that, cover of spirituality. And so when we don't do that, we are, stopping ourselves from making progress in this movement. And we're really, I think, negatively affecting the lives of many animals. And so I try a lot to convince mostly non-religious people of that, being more aware of their possible bias against, reaching out to religious communities and not having any spirituality, and gaining some knowledge on the potential that is there to make an incredible impact for veganism and the animal cause.
So tell us a little bit about you, Ryan. So you are a young spiritual vegan, very active in animal rights. You're also a practicing Buddhist, French Canadian. So tell us about your life.
Yes. Well, we often hear that question, how did you become vegan? And I've had that question a lot of, how did you become Buddhist? And, to those questions, and most of them in terms of why did you choose this path in life and why did you become this way? I often like to say that things choose you. You're not the one making the choices. And so veganism chose me. Buddhism chose me. I don't know why I became vegan and Buddhist. That's the honest answer. And I don't think anyone knows really, because it's an addition of so many different factors. And I'm sure that half of them, we're completely unconscious about And there is a danger to, having the conceit of thinking, I know why I'm vegan, or I know why I'm Buddhist, I know why I'm this way. Because then, we tell ourselves stories on why we are this or that way. And those stories, give birth to assumptions. So, for instance, on veganism, some people say, I became vegan after watching Dominion, that, popular documentary. And so they make the assumption that this is the way of, advancing veganism, showing people that documentary. But the real question is, why, did you react this way to that documentary? And there is a possibility that others, will not react the same way as you did. And so some may react, with indifference. Others may even have a negative reaction to that documentary, and then think that the reason for that is not, factory farming. It's the person who made me watch the documentary, so the bad vegans. And so, it's complex, but I invite people to just embrace their ignorance about, the causes and conditions that made them who they are. I think it's more truthful, and also it's more productive in terms of advocacy.
So rather than delve into why you're vegan or why you're Buddhist, tell us a little bit about the how. Tell us about your spiritual practice and your vegan life.
For sure. So, in terms of Buddhism, the Buddha summarizes Buddhism in 3 simple points: abstaining from evil, doing good, and purifying the mind. That's it. And, when we talk about abstaining from evil, we have 5 precepts. So those are precepts that we take as practicing Buddhists every morning. And, the first one is abstaining from destroying sentient beings. Now, it says sentient beings, it doesn't say humans. So it includes all creatures, insects, animals, and so on. And for me, it resonates a lot because, again, I'm a fundraiser. I'm passionate about the topic of giving and generosity. And this is how the Buddha presents that precept, those 5 precepts. He says, for the first one, you should abstain from destroying sentient beings. And that way you can offer the world safety. You can offer to so many beings out there trust and safety, and a world where they can feel comfortable because they're not threatened. Their life is not threatened. And, he does the same thing with not stealing, which is the second precept, not having, sexual misconduct, the third one, not lying. That's the hardest one in Buddhism. And, the fifth, because there are, all of those white lies that, we want to tell to be polite. And the fifth one, not drinking or taking intoxicants. So I feel, it's beautiful, and it goes hand in hand with my outlook as a vegan, because that's what I do, as, becoming vegan. It's a gift that I offer to the world, to so many animals, and to myself.
Beautiful. So I think that a lot of people who are not very familiar with Buddhism just assume that all Buddhists are vegetarian, and yet that's not the case. How come?
Well, I understand the assumption, because one of the main branches of Buddhism is Mahayana Buddhism. And often, if you go to a Mahayana temple, they will have strictly vegetarian food served there, to the monastic community. But then the lay people are not vegetarian mostly. They're not, even vegan. And, it's a good question. And that's a question we struggle with. at Dharma Voices for Animals. It's the $1 million question. And, I think of it that way. This is not the only shortcoming of Buddhism. I could talk about the place of women in the Buddhist monastic community. That's a big issue there too. There isn't gender equality so much in the monastic community, and that's an issue that many of us in lay people want to see addressed. And I could name other problems that Buddhist and Buddhist religion has. But, the ideal and the core teachings of Buddhism are clear on that topic. That's the important thing. They are truly, a motivation to go vegan. I talked about the first precept. How can you not, take the first precept and not consider becoming vegan? Again, it goes hand in hand. That's the ideal. But we're humans. We are flawed. And, to draw a parallel with my previous point about, not knowing why we are the way we are, that determinism, you can apply it to others. And when you do so, it is much easier to show compassion to your fellow person. Why? Because you stop judging. You think, well, they're that way because of their conditioning, because of their education, because of their culture. And I'm this way, not because I'm a better person or I'm a superior person or something. It's just because of my conditioning. I was fortunate to respond well to the vegan message of compassion and to embrace it in my life. And this other person has not been as fortunate. And that's it. So no judgment, you're not bad or good for doing something. You're just, the result of your conditioning.
So, given that, how do you speak to non-vegans, whether fellow Buddhists or others? How do you carry this message in this kind and gentle way that you're speaking to us?
Well, I carry that message. That message carries me. And, with the hope that it resonates with that person, that, it's the right time, that it's the right wording, and that, it makes an impact. And I think that with Buddhists, it is easier because they have that ideal in mind. They have those core teachings that do not go against the vegan message of compassion. So I've seen them being more receptive to it. And often it just has to do with ignorance about, factory farming. We live kind of in our own bubble in a way, because our closest friends are most likely vegan, and we go to vegan restaurants, and we do some vegan activities. And so it's hard to think that some people are still ignorant about factory farming, yet there are so many of them that are. And so again, be careful of your assumptions, and have an open mind.
Okay. Well, you have an open mind and a wonderful podcast. So let's move over to the podcast. It's quite unique. So if you can share with us what the podcast is about, what you're trying to do there, and then also get a little bit practical, because I'll bet there are a lot of people listening to this who would like to be a guest on podcasts or maybe start their own podcast. So if you have any wisdom that you have learned in your podcasting career, we'll take it.
Of course. Well, you also have a great podcast, Victoria. So maybe you can, help me deliver some of that wisdom. But yeah, the vegan report, when I started thinking about how can I be helpful for the vegan cause and the animal rights, movement. I thought maybe my role will be to build up the community. And how can I do so? Well, what if I created the space where we could have some thought-provoking conversations, critical conversations about the way we do activism? So we are, used to debating non-vegans. We debate them left and right in campuses, in the street, everywhere. But what about debating ourselves? Debating our point of views, comparing them, and thinking critically about how we do things. And that's the platform I wanted to create. I wanted to invite, animal rights activists from everywhere, and ask them some difficult questions about the future of activism. How efficient are we at doing this type of activism, and so on. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And if you're thinking about launching a podcast, I guess two recommendations. First of all, think of it as a business, because that's really what it is. It will, eat away from your time and energy, just like a business would. But also, you need to have fun doing it, because if you don't, you'll stop recording those episodes. And I've seen so many vegan activists starting their own podcast only to stop after episode 3, 4, 5. There are so many abandoned vegan podcasts out there. It's ruins of old podcasts that had promising future. But if you're not driven to do the work, if you're not just you have that passion for discovering new people and having interesting conversations, then podcast might not be for you, unless you like doing some monologues. Then then podcasting might be for you. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Cool. Thank you. So we only have about a minute and a half to go, but could you take that minute and a half to tell us about your latest project, an app, MapYourHealth?
Yes. So MapYourHealth is an application I'm developing, and the goal of MapYourHealth, sorry, is to inform you of the many environmental health risks in your surrounding, in your neighborhood, and so on. We have a web version that is going to launch soon, and I'm really excited about it. And what I mean by environmental health risk, well, pollutants, in your local industrial, factory. What kind of pollutants are they emitting in the water, in the air, but also pathogens? The list goes on of all the environmental health risks out there. I think we talk a lot about mental health and fitness and nutrition, but what about environmental health? That's really, really, really important. And I'm happy to launch the very first tool out there, for getting informed and making a good decision. So if people are interested and want to engage with this project, visit mapyourhealth.info.
Fascinating. You definitely look at things from a unique perspective. Thank you so much for spending this time with the Compassion Consortium. And everybody, Ryan will stay around for breakout rooms. He's going to actually be coming into the vegan information breakout room. So if you want more from Ryan, you can find him there. And back to you, Miss Jen Baker.
Okay. During each Sunday service, we offer a song of compassion for your consideration and silent reflection. This pop punk and rock band, Phoenix Wise and the Resistance, represents the sensitive side of their band and their deep understanding of love and relationships. This song, By Your Side, is a catchy and memorable track that will make you feel really good about anyone close to you. and inspire you to do better in creating personal bonds. Enjoy the ride.
Ever since I was young, I knew, and all that I had to do was look at you. The beautiful moment is all it took. No other words could have written that book. When I met you, it was love at first sight. Two souls together without a fight. Here we go on a journey without love. Together we will stay out of the cold. The cold. There were times in my life I was lonely, and every time that I tried something I was the only one. Last night I saw you in my mind. Was the most amazing image I ever had in my life. In my life. And everything that I wish I had is you. You keep me alive and together I know you could. So many thoughts and feelings running through me. Tell you that I'm ready to be by your side. Yes, by your side. With all the pain in the world, it's so hard to believe in love. But I know it's true, that we can love each other so much. By your side, by my side, by our side. And all the wonderful things that we do. You are an angel in my life, so beautiful. Yeah, stay with me and forever we'll play. Let's spend all of our time together every day. By your side. Come on. Here we go on a travel through the universe. Nothing can stop us, not even the end of the world. Yeah, get close again and hold my hand. I don't think anyone will ever understand. By your side, by my side, by our side. And I'm so happy with you. We are something when I'm near you. Please don't ever let me go. Our love will continue to grow. By your side, by my side, by our side. Yeah.
Doesn't it just make you feel good and smile? I just think we should have that to watch on a day where we're maybe having a rough time or something, bring a smile to our face. And so now we turn to our good news for the month. This week, I want to share a story of hope rising from the ocean's vast waters. Every year, some North Atlantic right whales make a harrowing journey going from the feeding grounds in the chilly waters around New England and Canada to the warmer waters down south near the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida, where they give birth and nurse their young. This migration is not without challenges. The whales must avoid a jungle of roughly 1 million fishing lines, along with vessel traffic. With only around 380 North Atlantic right whales remaining, each and every calf represents hope for the recovery of this critically endangered species. There are only 70 reproductive female North Atlantic right whales remaining, so they are closely tracked to help ensure their new calves' survival. Some of them are first-time mothers this year, and others have their ninth calf. As of February 2026, there have been at least 21 newborn right whale calves that have been documented in the 25-26 calving season, the highest number seen in 15 years. The good news doesn't erase the real struggles these gentle giants still face, but it does remind us that life continues, that hope can take shape in the most vulnerable places, and that every calf is a gift. As we celebrate life in all its forms today, may we be inspired by their persistence and by the power of collective care for one another and for all creatures who share this world with us. And now it's time for our blessings and prayers segment of Sunday service.
Thank you, Jen. Wow, I'm still bopping around here from that song a little bit, I think. A little known side of Rev Sarah, she spent her 80s and 90s listening to a lot of punk rock thrash. So I really actually appreciated something with a lively beat to it today. So thank you for that. And also to Ryan and Victoria for your wonderful conversation. Lots to think about there, lots to think about. And I'm still, I think, in the back of my head, also swimming along with Dina and some mahi mahi. Mahi mahi were the first animal that I decided to leave off of my plate because I was at a restaurant once and I ordered one many, 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 many years ago. And the person I was eating with said, "Did you know they mate for life?" And that moment right then, I made a decision that I had just split up a couple and I was never going to do that again. So learning about animals can really impact our decisions when we learn about their capacities and their capabilities and what we just saw in that amazing video, Jen, too, showing all I mean, isn't it a tremendous world we live in? Isn't that a tremendous world? Look at all that variety of creatureliness. So that said, we know that life comes with lots of good news and days have a lot of challenges too. So if you have anything that you want to share that's great news, or if you have anything that's a challenge, if you've lost anyone who's dear to you, or you would like prayers for someone who needs some healing, please put that in the chat. And you guys can attend to each other as well there in the chat. Give each other a little love, give each other a little compassion. And talk to each other over there. We like to see you talk to each other. And as you do that, I'm going to close us today with some prayerful words from Shantideva's prayer. Shantideva was an 8th century monk, beloved still in Mahayana Buddhism, especially in a lot of Tibetan traditions, for crafting a really practical guide to cultivating, your way to bodhicitta, to an awakened kind of heart that seeks the kind of enlightenment that Rayane was talking about today. And so this prayer is something that there's a lot of different versions of this, so I'm using one of the translations into English. But I'm going to just invite you to take a breath with me. If this idea of seeking some sort of enlightenment for the benefit of all beings might be something that sounds good. We could all benefit from a little more enlightenment each day, could we not? About ourselves and about the others we share this planet with. About the challenges we face and how to attend to them. Just notice how your body feels. And see how these words sink in, if they're useful to you. I'll put them in the chat afterwards if you want to keep them around for your own practice. May those who insult me to my face or cause me harm in any other way, even those who disparage me in secret, have the good fortune to awaken. And may I be a guard for those without one, a guide for all who journey on the road. May I become a boat or a raft or a bridge for all who wish to cross the water. May I be an isle for those desiring landfall, and a lamp for those who wish for light. May I be a bed for those who need to rest, and there are many of us, and a servant for all who live in need. May I become a wishing jewel, a magic vase, a powerful mantra, and a medicine of wonder. May I be a tree of miracles granting every wish, and a creature of plenty sustaining all the world. Like the earth and other great elements, and like space itself, may I remain forever to support the lives of the boundless beings by providing all that they might need. Just so, in all the realms of beings, and as far as space pervades, may I be a source of all that life requires, until all beings pass beyond the cycle of life's pain. May it be so. That's a big, tall order, but I'm willing to put it out there in the universe, folks. How about you? Yeah. We conclude with the words that we offer together each month, another prayer that you all may be familiar with. Just take another breath, and I invite you to offer these with me aloud or silently in your head. May all creatures everywhere be happy and free. May the thoughts, words, and actions of our lives contribute to this happiness and this freedom for all. And please close with whatever word it is that's meaningful to you, to close intentions or prayers or wishes or what you're putting out there and hoping will come true. Whether that is, may it be so, or amen, amen, so mote it be, om shanti, 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 so might it be. There are endless ways that in an interfaith community we can close our prayers. So please use the one that makes most sense to you. And I will put Shanti Deva's prayer in the chat for you all. Thank you all for joining us for Sunday service. Please stick around for fellowship right after a few announcements from Jen about what else is going on around here this month.
That was wonderful, Sarah. Thank you. So please join us for our March service with Sarah Abbas. Stay tuned to our newsletter for updates on the March service. You can register for next month at the link in the chat. And our first ever Compassionist celebration event will meet next Sunday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. If you are a Compassionist at any level of monthly giving, please join us for this or another upcoming Compassionist Circle. These events are especially for you to give you a small group, interactive experience of fellowship, practice, and support. We look forward to seeing you next week. And don't forget about our wonderful monthly recurring gatherings for vegan meditation, activist well-being, and pet loss support circle. Details are always available on our website and in the monthly newsletter.